Two questions, if that's alright. The first one is, I know a lot of different people have different techniques for cleanup and doing messy lines. What are your favorite kind?
Well, for me, I always sketch everything in. I use the same pencil for everything, which I teased about last time we did this. But I sketch everything in with a 2H pencil, and then I use a kneaded eraser and lighten it down so you can barely see the lines that are there. And then draw it again a little bit tighter, I do the same thing again, and then I do my final drawing. So by the time I get to the final tight lines, I know exactly where everything is, and I don't end up with much of a mess at all. And then any place where I do have some scratches on in there, I have an electric eraser, which is great. It goes. So yeah.
I meant for like if you use like white paint or digital or something.
Oh, well, I like to, since I'm inking my own work these days, it's something that I'm kind of used to, but I use Pro White, or there's like a real opaque white that is like really waterproof, and it gets kind of goofy sometimes, but I use that, and if there's something that's really messed up, I might do it in Photoshop, but I prefer to do everything on the page and have it be represented on the actual artwork if I can, and not resort to Photoshop. But what I will do in Photoshop is, after I scan my art, I'll use the brush tool and use the white, and I'll just go in there and erase all the little dust particles and little ink splatters that you miss. And when you zoom in, you see a lot of that. It really, it takes maybe 20 minutes or so per page, depending on how complex the page is. But it's a little time consuming, but you have to do it.
And then my other question is if you've ever had any particularly bizarre convention sketch requests.
Well, in France, I was asked to do a French maid with garter belts and kind of bending over and all that. I'm like, well, I'm in France. No one's going to see this, so, in America. So I did a real sexy babe, and
And it's not on the internet?
I haven't seen it on the internet, but it wasn't that good, so maybe that's why.
I think the mustache kind of hurt the drawing.
And the bulge under the skirt. I forgot where I'm at.
It's not France, dial it back.
When you were younger, did you actually go to art classes and learn how to draw, or did you just keep on drawing?
Well, for me, my father's an artist, my brothers were artists, and it's just something I used to do. I would, in kindergarten, I would redraw other kids' Santa Clauses and stuff like that, and they would, get upset with me and whatnot. But I would always draw pictures, and I just loved it. And as I got older, I just kept doing it because I loved it. If you're an artist, you're gonna take to it because you're interested in it, and you're gonna have fun doing it. It's just a lot of fun, especially when you're a kid.
I use this for mistakes. Presto. You can also draw with it.
Hi, my question is, what is your approach on backgrounds, especially with you all detailed styles like cityscapes and the different buildings that you put in the cityscapes? What's your approach on drawing?
I always draw I'll tape paper to my page and work out the perspective points, and then I just draw out a grid of lines over the panel if it's a 3-point perspective, and then I'll do the same. Lighten it down with my kneaded eraser so I can barely see it, and then I can draw the whole background without having to use a ruler really, or find any perspective points, and I just kind of trace over the perspective that I already have, and it works really well for me.
Oh, nice.
And then there's people that can just draw it.
I just skipped a couple steps, but no, you can. David, I know you can do this. Yeah, I'm gonna switch off. I'm gonna give this away. So, just looking for someone who has deodorant. Let me see it. Whoever, anyone, show me a little canister of deodorant. You get the sketch. There you go, sir. Come here. There you go. Good job. Is it possible to share this deodorant with other people? There you go. What's your name? 7. D.
Okay. My name's Christina Francisco. I'm a pretty big fan, and I was just curious as to what each of your guys' favorite hero is to illustrate and why. Just one.
I'll start with Jim Lee because I'm very curious about that too.
Favorite what? Hero?
Every character,
Yeah.
hero to draw.
I don't really have a favorite character. I always say that, they're all like your children, so you have to love them all equally, or they won't take care of you when you get older. Trust me, I'm feeling very old. What I do like, though, is like drawing characters like Wolverine or Batman. They're a lot of fun. They're very visceral characters, and you can draw all the veins and muscles and put them in all these like cool poses. But then I love drawing the goofier characters like Jubilee and Robin next to them, and having that juxtaposition between kind of constipated and free and happy. And I just love having that kind of tension and that rhythm that you get on the page by drawing these characters differently and then having them move through the panels differently. There's a sequence in All-Star Batman and Robin where Batman and Robin are like maneuvering through a subway tunnel or something, and Robin's like bouncing across the walls all over the place, and Batman's just very direct and jumps on top of the train. And that to me is kind of like the fun of the characters, and that's how you express the personalities of the characters. And it's a challenge to an artist to do sequences like that. So that's my answer.
I think the best characters are actually the ones that are slightly more imperfect. Like, I love Superman, but he's actually the hardest guy to draw. His face, if you, like, everyone has an idealized version of what it looks like. So if you screw it up, it doesn't look like Superman. But then if you look at a character like Batman, and you look at a book like Batman Black and White, and everyone has different styles, but every time it still looks like Batman, right? So there's characters like that that are just so perfect for different interpretations, and those are like the best ones. Yeah. So basically, the kind of creepier and funnier they look, the more fun they tend to be.
Well, I try to find something, whatever book I'm working on. Obviously, right now it's Batman, so I really love drawing him. I love drawing all the peripheral characters like Selena Kyle, whether she's a costume or not. Like in a ball gown or something. But I really enjoy, I really get into it, and I find things to make my own, so that I really do love drawing like everybody that's in it. When I was on Teen Titans, I would find certain characters that I would really, I think, be better at or more natural at drawing, and it's just a matter of finding what I like about each character and bringing something to the table, and I really enjoy whatever it is that I'm doing. I just really try to get into it.
For me, I like drawing the villains the most, and I love drawing Batman. Batman has some awesome villains too. And if I'm working with a writer that really is great with characterization, I pretty much like every character. If I like them in the script, it makes me like drawing them.
Thank you.
When you all were talking about your influences, it sounded like they were mostly folks either like the generation before you or who have been around for a few years. Do y'all ever like take direct inspiration or influence from earlier people like Jack Kirby or Carmen Infantino or like Jose Luis Garcia Lopez?
Frank Frazetta.
Frank Frazetta. He's pretty old school.
Bernie Wrightson.
Bernie Wrightson.
I think what tends to happen is that, like, when I was growing up, I was very into all the Image guys. So I loved Jim, Mark, Todd, even Rob, So that stuff was great. It was energetic, It was so different, and it was so in your face, and it was nothing like anyone's seen before at that time.
You guys all have copies of X-Force at home. Come on. We didn't sell 2 million copies to nobody.
That's right.
That's right.
So
I got a Rob Liefeld sketch last week of Mary Marvel, and it's beautiful.
See?
He can do it.
Right? So yeah, so what happens is that, like, those are the generation before us that we love, but as you're growing as an artist, what I started doing was, I'm like, well, I wonder what what Jim is influenced by. I wonder what Mark is influenced by. So then you start going one generation back, and then you find yourself going even further to where the roots of those little quirks of their style came from. You know, like when I was trying to figure out what Mark Silvestri looked at, he told me he looked at John Buscema, and I started looking at that. And then even like the crazy little wrinkles that he does on clothing, because he does an amazing job with it. And I found out that he doesn't even look at comics. He was looking at this illustrator called, his name is J.C. Lyndon. So I started looking at that, and then I looked at who he looked at, you know, and then it just keeps going and going.
And
you know?
and this has influenced your stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, the thing is that sometimes even if it's not visible on the page, that you're clearly influenced by them, there's usually something that you take, whether it's an aesthetic, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be a physical line work that you've taken from them. Like a lot of times there's a lot of artists that just inspire me to draw, but there's no clear, visible, you know, I guess, visible artistic style that, you know, you took from it, but it was more the energy or feel.
Cool.
One thing I'll add to that is I actually looked at a lot of the artists I didn't like too, actually, as a kid, and I tried to really figure out why I hated their stuff. And yeah, I don't want to say it, but you know, there might be people here present. Anyway, so no, I'm kidding. It's a joke. There's a lot of guys I just didn't really care for, and generally it was because they had a lot of stock go-to kind of poses, or the same sort of expressions, or their line just wasn't as clean, and so I was really looking at everybody and really trying to dissect like what they kind of brought to the table. But I mean, Francis was completely right. All the guys looked to the artists before them, and I was an amalgam of everything. And I think Dave was being very humble and saying his work is really this ensemblage of kind of different styles. But I mean, it all has to be kind of converted in his head into the style that's his work, and it's recognizable as his work. And you know, it might have all these similar roots, but there's only one Dave Finch, and there's only one style like that. So it's a fun process.